Dr. Singh is a purposeful, innovative coach, strategist, author, keynote speaker, Industry 4.0 enabler, and a lifelong learner. He has practiced innovation as a corporate leader and engineering professor and on DoD, SBIRs in the USA, Europe, and Asia. Ripi is an expert contributor to the ISO 56000 on innovation management, guest editor for the international journals, advisor to several universities around the world, as well as International Association of Innovation Professionals. He's authored 8 books, 100+ internal journal publications, and 300+ lectures. During COVID lockdown, he spoke about Industry 4.0 over 20 times and in 10 different countries. I met Ripi about 4 years ago. I'm always amazed at how he's able to turn my perspective upside down. I inevitably learn from him every time I'm able to hear him speak. At a time when there's so much noise and static to distract my attention, Ripi's words always clear a path to my undivided attention and stretch my thinking in new dimensions. For that, I'm grateful and I'm honored to share him with you today.
Thank you, Deborah. When I was growing up, somebody said, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. Okay, is the title chart up there? Great. Thank you, Deborah, for the extensive introduction. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Yes, now we're in business. First time when Deborah called, she said, I want you to give a talk at my event, and I was kind of surprised. Why would she call me? I don't have a big title with a big company. I'm not with a government body distributing money out. Then it must be my good looks.
Definitely. It's that you're taller than I am.
Okay. And then my wife reminded me that you don't look like Kim Kardashian at all, so don't worry about that either. Now I got curious as to why was I invited. So I called her up and I said, Deborah, what is it that you want me to talk about? And what can I do in this forum today? And she said, you have traveled a lot in the last few years. I want my audience to hear from you what other people around the world are thinking about innovation and what are they doing. And I tell you, I was surprised one more time because that's a question that very few people in Connecticut actually ask. So what's going on outside Connecticut? So today I'm going to share with you learnings that I have had by talking about Industry 4.0 and its application in all these places around the world. It might sound like a buffet of things, but there's a theme in here, and you will get the theme towards the end of it. And if you actually feel that Ripi touched upon various topics, not just one particular topic, then I think I meet Deborah's expectation to bring perspective as to what's going on in the world. You know, people talk about Industry 4.0 now very extensively. In Connecticut, we started talking about this 4 years ago, but now it's become big. But around the world, people are also talking about, hey, there is more to the technology. It's not just about technology. You have to think about what purpose it serves, what is the meaning, what is the role of human in the loop. There's a topic around ethics being discussed with Industry 4.0, which is not an easy one. And we've been looking at all of those subjects, and some of that has actually recently been published in a book as applied to a topic of NDE 4.0. But today's talk, let me cover 3 different things. Okay. I will touch upon Industry 4.0, why, how, and also share with you what I call as your purpose profile journey, so to say. And then I'll switch over to human considerations, which is not discussed very extensively, but are slowly becoming a lot more important in the face of actually adopting and accepting digital transformation. And then I will go towards the end as to what could be the next revolution. So let's start with the topic of Industry 4.0. Right? I mean, we all know this. We have seen similar charts so many times. First one was because of steam, second one because of electricity, third one from computers, and fourth one famously known as IoT or connectivity. But really, what has happened is, during the second revolution, we became masters of the physical world. We learned how to deal with material, production, supply chain, efficiencies, all that stuff. During the third revolution, we became masters of the digital world. And the fourth revolution actually brings these two together. Okay? It brings digital, physical world in a closed loop. How do you go from a physical environment to digital environment, understand and predict the physical environment, and then go back, control it to the way you want? So physical to digital to physical. Today, if somebody talks about Industry 5.0, I tell you what my analysis is, and some of the other thought leaders around the world. If it's being discussed in the research environment, universities or national labs, yes, they are exploring what would be the next major change. But if somebody in the industry talks to you about Industry 5.0 and says, I have a solution for that, it's a marketing buzzword. Don't fall for that, because we haven't yet gotten full handle on Industry 4.0 when it comes to applications. So let's wait, let the researchers work that out, and we'll see when the timing is right for 5.0. When this thing first happened, BCG gave a list of 9 technologies back in 2015, 16, following the German definition. But that list has evolved. And I think last year was more like 17 technologies. This is a 2020 report. I think this year there may be 2 more that I don't know of. And in another 2 years, there'll be 2 or 3 more. They are continuously evolving. So your portfolio of digital technologies is never complete, and never ever expect that it will be complete. Because there's a confluence and there's a merger and there's a buildup of technologies that is bringing new stuff faster than we can conceive. So let that journey evolve, but adopt what makes sense, what makes purpose. But at the core of all of this, the fundamental thing you need to understand about Industry 4.0 is that there is something called digital twin. That's at the core of it. The easiest way to understand the concept of digital twin, think about Facebook is your digital twin of one aspect of your life. LinkedIn is a digital twin of a professional aspect of your life. Similarly, you can have a digital twin for anything. Your medical record is a digital twin of your health. Amazon maintains a digital twin of your shopping practices. And all the technologies that you think of, they fall in really 4 different categories. How you acquire data, how you process data, how you visualize data, and how you later on go back from the data environment to a physical action, whether you do 3D printing or you have a robotic control. So anything and everything that allows you to go from physical environment to digital environment, back to physical environment, is Industry 4.0. We meet people who will say, we've been doing Industry 4.0 for 20 years. You have now just given it a new name. You created a new buzzword. Let me tell you, when somebody says that he's been doing this for 20 years, he or she doesn't yet understand what it means. They are still talking about 3.0. It's closing of the loop between the physical, digital, physical world is what makes the fourth revolution the fourth revolution. Classic example, driverless car. All the sensors and the cameras at any point are capturing the physical reality on the road, are computing in real time the motion of the rest of the traffic, making decisions on how to control the car, and controlling it in real time to achieve a purpose, to safely carry passengers. That's the fourth revolution. And you see, this is different than cruise control or automatic lane departure or automatic braking, because it closes the loop between the physical and the digital world. That's what is fourth revolution. But in the end, what does it mean? All these technologies, why do we do these? Why do we do this? Sometimes we are not even aware as to why we do it. Many people working for large organizations are at level where they're doing it because their boss wants them to do it. It's a part of the job. I'm just doing my job. Just don't realize it. But some business owners, business managers, they understand and they think of it as, oh, you got to make money. That's not a bad purpose. And there are others who are just pushing the technology. They just want to create the next frontier for the rest of the world. That's a good thing. But that's not where we should stop. That's where we should start thinking about why we do what we do. Think about, is there a social implication? Am I doing it to make homes smart? Smart cities, smart factories, smart healthcare, smart education, whatever. Is there a social purpose? Is there a problem in the society that we are solving with what we are doing? I think that's where the purpose piece begins. Now you can also go beyond that. Think about how we preserve anything that's precious. We all own jewels. We have important things. We insure against them, but we preserve them. If you have a precious stone, what's the most precious stone that we have today? Is this. I want you to think about that. Max? I want you to think about it. Max, hold it up. If this is the most precious stone that you have, and you inherited it from your grandparents and parents, and it's your responsibility to give it to your children and grandchildren, how are you going to preserve it? It's a question we should ask. Can we use the right set of technologies to actually enable sustainable solutions? That's one of the purposes that we must always think of. And if for some reason we feel it is somebody else's job, it's government's job, or it's nonprofit job, or it's the COP guys who are having climate summit and Scottsdale, whatever, okay, is their job? No, it is everybody's job. And even if you think it's not a part of your business, think of it at least as a constraint. Ask that question in what you're doing and how you're doing. Are you helping or hurting the planet? Very, very important. Yeah, see, some of the charts may still have a different language because they come from other talks. One of the concepts to understand this clearly is called Earth Overshoot Day. I just want to bring the point home to you as to how much of a problem we have with purpose and how badly we are leveraging technology for what we believe is the right thing to do. Earth Overshoot Day is the day when essentially on the planet we run out of the budget for natural resources. Earth has a biocapacity. It has a supply. It can supply a certain amount of fish, certain amount of oxygen, trees, forestation, animals. And we, humanity, have a certain amount of demand. We have an ecological footprint. It's just like income and expenses. And there's a date when you use up all of your income and you're spending more. That's the Earth Overshoot Day. It's the day when planet's annual biocapacity runs out of budget for the year, which means after that, humanity is eating up into the reserves of the planet. And that day is continuously getting closer and closer and closer for the last 50 years. In 1970 was the first time we breached that barrier. That means humanity on this planet ran out of budget. And now we have reached the month of July. How long can we continue like this? Let's also look at country-wise. The world this year hit that budget on July 29th. In US, we hit that on March 14th. Can any one of you run your business if you run out of budget on March 14th? How will you pay to your employees for the rest of the year? That's the kind of a problem we have with the way we consume resources. We need to find a way to go all the way from March 14th to December 31st because we are trapped. Because we are trapped on this planet. We do not have a planet B. We really don't have a planet B. And we are really eating up this one. So we got to do something. We have to innovate to sustain. Either we innovate to sustain, or otherwise, at least every innovation, every business decision we make, let sustainability be a constraint. Not just a buzzword for somebody in the UN to talk about it. It's got to be a part of our life. It's got to be a part of our business. So I will say there's a hierarchy of innovation purpose, and it's important to understand that. You can create technology just to make money, and I call it a red, because that's not the right way to do. You should create technology for a social reason or for sustainability. Then it begins to make sense. So adopt Industry 4.0, adopt digitalization, but please adopt it responsibly, because that's the only way to do. Ask yourself a question, where are you today? When you go back to your workplace, ask yourself, where are you today? And ask yourself, is there something you need to do to change it? Now I'm going to take you to the next piece of it. I just talked about purpose. I want to now talk about innovation profile. When I ask people how innovative you are, the general answer is we're very innovative. Then I ask them on a scale of 1 to 5, where are you? And they typically say we are 4. And then I would say, okay, if 1 is a happy observer, like Blockbuster and Kodak, and 5 is the resilient companies like Google and Apple, where are you? I normally hear 3. And then I define the 2, 3, and 4. 2 is somebody who's following and innovating in response to market need. 3 is forecasting the need and innovating to be prepared for it and take the advantage of time. And level 4 is a visionary trendsetter. You're actually creating something new and you're creating a demand for it. There are examples all over, and I put Tesla in that one over there. Ask yourself a question, where are you? Are you a follower? Are you a forecaster? Or are you changing the trends? Where do you stand? Now I'll come to the actual question. If I were to combine the two, the purpose and profile, okay, the question is, what has been your journey? Where were you a while back? Where are you today? Where do you want to be? Ideally, you want to be up there, but that's really idealistic, very hard. It's pretty good, an exemplary company, if you have a social pull and you're a visionary trendsetter, but most of the time, startups are here, and as they grow, they actually start slipping on their profile. And if they don't focus enough, they further come down and they become followers. And that's where majority of the surviving companies are. Those who wake up at this point either stay there consciously or turn around. And those who don't even wake up and stay happy observers, they become endangered species. And that's the exit from the business. And that's a journey which is very common. I'm just going to throw some lines over here for me to make you see what I mean. BlackBerry. There is no analysis behind this. This is not from McKinsey. I have not spent $100,000 analyzing this. This is based on my understanding and appreciation of all the stuff that I read. Google's gone like that. Chipotle has gone like that. I myself have gone something like this. When I started, I did not know about sustainability until I got called to China to talk about it. And it suddenly changed. This model evolved in collaborative research with Tsinghua University in China. Some of the people, Jeff Bezos is over there. Elon Musk is over there. I want you to think about what has been your journey. Where were you? Where are you today? And where do you want to be? And I'll tell you what, if you find that you are here, you should have a chief innovation officer in your organization or on your board telling you what to do. If you believe you're a smart forecaster or agile follower, actually, if you're an agile follower, you better make sure you have a chief risk officer in your team somewhere. And if you are somewhere between happy observer and agile follower, you better hire a chief prayer officer because that's the guy you need at the moment. Okay? I'm just helping you find out what talent you need depending upon what your profile is. To help you all with all this transformation on the innovation side and Industry 4.0 and stuff, ISO in 2013 started creating a new set of standards called ISO 56000. I don't know whether it is coincidental or what. The month I started my practice is the month when ISO launched this, and I had no clue about that. And I learned about them about 2 years later, and then it took me about a year to become a part of that team. I can give you a free copy of my book if you can spot me in this picture somewhere. So today, ISO has about 10 standards. Some of them are already published, and some are in works. I tell you, I learned so much working through the ISO 56006 that was just published, and now with ISO 56008 as to how do you quantify. It's amazing to hang out with some of the 100 of the smartest folks on the planet who talk about innovation and create standards for everyone else to work on. It's just amazing. It's an opportunity that I could not pass by. It's not affordable for me, but I have no sponsorship, but I still want to do it because that's where I learn what I bring from my clients. And I found out that all of my content that I had published in 4 books, a good piece of that has actually gone into becoming ISO standards. So if you ever lay your hands on ISO standards and you want to adopt that, These are the books you can pick from Amazon, and they will help you implement ISO 56000 for innovation. I generally don't like to advertise, but here I can do it shamelessly because I send all the profits towards ocean cleanup because that's my purpose for my practice. So this is coming out. Then when all these 4 books were there and I saw them happening with the ISO alignment, one day a good friend who's not here today, I had invited him, his name is Brent Robertson, he asked me a question. He said, Ripi, you know, all your books cover page has human on the cover, but none of the table of contents talk about human. And I looked at it and I said, oh, yeah. And then I dig deeper. I had the human element embedded in various places, but never spiked out. And then when I started talking about this to my international peers, and I heard that they were also feeling the same way. And that led to the 5th book that was recently released in France. It's called Edge to Edge. It's the term I picked from Brian Kramer. He says, never ever think that you are in a B2B business or a B2C business. Always, always think you're in an edge-to-edge business. It's all about human to human. The B2B and B2C is just a part of the value stream, but it's all about humans doing things for humans. So think of yourself as an edge-to-edge practice. Again, if you realize, go back to my purpose model, it suddenly takes you from financial purpose to the social purpose, because now we start talking about edge to edge. So the second part of my talk is around human considerations. There are lots of them. I cannot touch upon all. We will actually discuss some of them in the afternoon in track 2. But let's look at them quickly. Leadership. Leadership in 4.0 is very different. All of those people who were successful vice president and operating officers under the 3.0 sector, if they try to use the same principles in 4.0, it ain't going to work. And there's a reason why we see a lot of young folks climbing up the corporate ladder much faster, because they know the leadership required for digital transformation is different than what was done until we had physical world and the computer worlds separate. The hierarchy is completely detrimental to this because it's all, just think about it. You're going from cloud computing, server computing, edge computing. It's the same way. If you do not delegate decision making down to which is a part of the digital physical loop, it's not going to work. The expertise required for Industry 4.0, very different. You have a completely different set of hard skills that you need, and you need a completely, I shouldn't say different, but some of the soft skills that we have had in the past, they certainly now have more significance in Industry 4.0. So you got to pay heed to that. I think one of the things that I tell all youngsters when they say, Ripi, what skill do we need to develop? I say the skill to quickly pick up a new skill. Because if the rate at which the technologies are hitting the market is the rate at which we need to develop new skills. And then the second thing is confidence to do something for the first time. Okay. We are at a point where every year you're going to have to do something new. And COVID actually demonstrated that to an extent I had not imagined. I mean, I had talked about all sorts of disruptions before, but this was not their disruption. This was a dislocation when every industry got disrupted. Diversity. We have talked about diversity in the world. We talk about gender. We talk about all those things. But the studies and the data has actually shown diversity is absolutely, absolutely essential for Industry 4.0. It just does not work without inclusivity of diverse thought process. And when I talk about diversity, I'm not talking about skin color. I'm talking about the way we think. Okay? It's our experiences that we bring to the table. It's the diversity of the way we ask questions and what questions we go after. For Industry 4.0, a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, I got an invite to give a talk at Vancouver on women in Industry 4.0. And I told my wife, I said, I got this invite over it. She said, what do you know about women? I said, nothing. I said, you better learn. I said, fine. So I spent some time with her. Then I spent some time with a few of my women mentors. And my eyes opened up. And I actually, within 2 months, concluded that women will make better leaders in Industry 4.0, simply because their brains are wired differently. Their brains actually are genetically left and the right lobes are connected. And that's what we need for Industry 4.0. And guess what? I mean, now, if you look back, they say that the top 7 countries that came out of COVID fastest were all led by women. There is data now that is showing that when women have gotten into change management, when they have gotten into transformation, they've been a lot more successful than men. Let's accept it. Let's accept it and let's give it a try. It works. There is data showing that. Now, is it in nature or nurture? So I went deeper into this, and you realize it's actually the way we nurtured them. We nurtured them differently right from the day one. The solution, the way we talk about solution, creating a place on the board for 1 woman, 2 women, and then we hire a woman to put on the board who actually thinks and acts like a man, that does not address the problem. That addresses the symptom. We need to go beyond that. We need to go after women who actually think like a woman, because that's where the value comes. Okay? And the problem actually starts at the age of, can anybody guess when the problem starts? It starts at the age of 2. It starts at the age of 2 when you take your child to Walmart and you have different aisles for toys for the women, toys for the girls, and toys for the boys. That's where we start discriminating. That's where we start putting into their head that you're a woman, you're a girl, you need to think like this. These are boys' toys, these are girls' toys. Number of STEM companies, STEM toy companies that are now making toys which are gender neutral is going to help us. Now, that's a long-term solution. And we need to start thinking about that as a parent first and as an employer next. As an employer, we'll solve today's problem, but as a parent, we'll solve tomorrow's problem. So let me go on because I'll probably run out of time pretty quick. I have another little thing. Gender gap. When did it start? Actually, before the Industrial Revolution, men and women worked equally in the farms. And I know it because my grandmother and my grandfather, they both worked at farm all the time together. The gender disparity started with the first Industrial Revolution. It widened during the second one, simply because the work environment was very hazardous. People were working in mines and factories and working with gases that were not healthy, and women were kept at home to take care of the kids because they had to bear the child. That's where it started. It started for a social purpose, but then it became a professional reason. But now with the third revolution, computers, enabling women to be able to work from home, the gap is coming down. The fourth one will bridge the gap. It might actually swing the other direction for a while. But now there is something else that's happening. We talk about Industrial Revolution. This one, when we start having robots, we're going to have a slightly different problem. This is a poster from 1941. We got to make sure, otherwise very soon, both men and women will be fighting for their rights while robots and AI will be ruling the world. Okay? So we got to think about that piece. So I talked about gender piece. Now let me touch a little bit on ethics. The trap of ethics for us in the fourth revolution is that people are innovating faster than regulations can keep up. People have no precedence or experience to learn from. And now suddenly there is a boss or there's a business reason which says, you have the right to do it, you can do it, nobody's stopping you to do it, go push this product to market without asking the question, is it helping or hurting? So who is watching out for us in that space? You all heard the story about Juul's e-cigarettes. That's a classic example of no regulation, no experience, and somebody wants to make money and pushes down a product that creates health problems. And this is now happening with AI. So the question we must ask is, right thing to do versus right to do. And then we can ask, what I'm doing, is it right for the customer? Is it right for business? We do ask those questions. Is it right for employees? We sometimes ask, sometimes don't. Responsible companies do. Is it the right way to do? Can it hurt non-consumers? Can it hurt society or planet? Those are the questions that we should ask. There's a significant guidance from Santa Clara University. I won't go deeper into that. There are 16 different dilemmas that we have to deal with. You can ask a question, which ones are relevant to your work? Their website explains a lot of them in glory details. We talk about that, we talk about Facebook, we talk about Google, we talk about Amazon, we talk about all those companies who have implemented AI, facial recognition. Those cases are, okay, I'm getting the warning over here. So I'm going to skip to my last topic. What's the next revolution? This is Industry 4.0 we talked about. Okay, digital physical confluence. There's a third player that is entering, and that's the biological aspects. The confluence of digital, biological, physical, when all these three come together, we all know implants and prostheses, they've been there for many, many years now, right? That's your physical material getting into biological systems. We also know of biosensors, how we are picking biological data on physical sensors and bring it to your smartphones or wherever. All the wearables, that's a biological, physical, digital confluence. Gene editing, biocomputers. I mean, these things are all emerging. So while we are talking Industry 4.0, which is primarily digital physical, there is the biological piece that's coming in. We can't ignore it. There are some classic, beautiful examples. 3D printing of organs. That's how you go from digital world into the biological world. Wake Forest Institute is able to print skin directly on the burn wounds. I saw it on Star Trek in 97, 98. Okay, yep, go, start working. It's coming. I'll see if these videos work, and I'll try to be quick. But there are things over here that are worth observing. So 3D bioprinting has come a long way. It's almost to a point where you can now print sensors on a biosurface that's even moving. How many of you have heard about mind control devices? I was actually surprised. I don't know how good they are, but some of these toys you can buy on Amazon now for 200, 300 bucks. It's actually picking up sensors, and here is the interesting piece. Here is something where they picked up a monkey, and they planted the chip in there.
This is Paige. He's a 9-year-old macaque who had a neuralink placed in each side of his brain about 6 weeks ago. If you look carefully, you can see that the fur on his head hasn't quite fully grown back yet. He's learned to interact with the computer for a tasty banana smoothie delivered through a straw. We could.
So in the interest of time, I want to take you to.
Just as you might pay your.
How do I go directly to a particular time? I'm sorry, I could not have. This is on YouTube. I couldn't trim it, so I have to play this over here real quickly.
Bluetooth speaker. The links record from more than 2,000.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to skip it.
Regions of Paige's motor cortex that coordinate hand and arm movements. Neurons in this region modulate their activity with the intended hand. For example, some might become more active when he moves his hand up, and others when he moves it to the right. By recording from many neurons and feeding their activity to a decoder algorithm, we are able to predict Paige's intended hand movements in real time. First, we calibrate the decoder by recording neural activity as Paige uses the joystick to move a cursor to targets presented on the screen. As he's playing this game, we are wirelessly streaming in real time fire rates from thousands of neurons to a computer. Using these data, we calibrate the decoder by mathematically modeling the relationship between patterns of neural activity and the different joystick movements they produce. After only a few minutes of calibration, we can use the output from the decoder to move the cursor instead of the joystick. Paige still moves the joystick out of habit, but as you can see, it's unplugged. He's controlling the cursor entirely with decoded neural activity. Our goal is to enable a person with paralysis to use a computer or phone with their brain activity alone. Because they wouldn't be able to move the joystick, they would calibrate the decoder by imagining hand movements and targets. One of the things the Neuralinks allow Paige to do is to play his favorite video game, Pong. To control his paddle on the right side of the screen, Page simply thinks about moving his hand up or down. We've removed the joystick altogether. Now that he's up to speed, let's increase the difficulty and see how well Pager can play with the Neuralink.
So he is playing completely out of thought. Completely out of thought. We can get to that point. I don't know if you watched this video or not. I'm going to skip that. But this is a quadriplegic who drove Formula One car purely by thought. You put on a helmet, none of the limbs work. The car does not have a pedal. The car does not have a steering wheel, nothing. You think and you drive. I mean, we talk about Formula One car on a racetrack. That's the kind of a power that we are reaching with the integration of digital, physical, biological world. Again, I will not play this video, but I want you to look for it. This is a very interesting conversation. There's a robot, Sophia, who's sitting in a driverless car called Jack, and this robot is talking to the car and is actually giving reactions almost like humans, and is actually talking about how easy for the robot it is to understand a driverless car, and for humans, it's hard to understand how this is working. It's a very interesting conversation between two machines on a road, on a highway. Anyway, that's where the world is going, okay? Very soon, we'll be at a point, I don't know very soon means maybe 30, 40 years, 50 years, where robots are producing food, energy, housing, they're bringing supply chain, they're cooking food at home. Robots are even producing energy plants because robots feed on energy. You know, they don't need food, but they need to produce that. And then they can produce their own plants. You can theoretically get to complete 100% automation. Then humans will have to find a different purpose, okay? All sorts of robots will be there, including the ones that will bring you beer in the evening for eating happy hour, right? So you have nothing else to do but sit and drink beer, and then robots bring that. So that's where we're going. And if you don't believe this, let me tell you something. During in the second industrial revolution, this is something that British Post Office said. Americans need the telephone. We don't. We have plenty of messenger boys. So what? It takes the whole day for somebody to carry a piece of paper from one end of the country to another end to deliver a message. So we make these statements. But when a revolution happens, they are completely proven wrong. In fact, one of the Arthur C. Clarke's laws is when an expert says something is possible, he's likely to be true. When an expert says something is impossible, he's likely to be not true, because there really is nothing impossible. Same things we had with Industry 3.0 statements. 1943, IBM CEO says, I think there's a world market for maybe 5 computers. Each one of us are carrying 5 computers on us every day, all the time, right? World versus human. One individual, 5 computers. DEC, there is no need for any individual to have a computer in their home. The experts have been wrong, particularly because they know way too much about a subject. They know way too much that they're stuck in it and they can't think through what the next disruption would be. And now, today, when we are talking about the 4th revolution, we talk about AI. How many of you have watched the debate between Jack Ma and Elon Musk that happened 2 years ago? Fantastic. They make exactly opposite statements. One guy says AI will never replace humans. The other one says, well, we'll be looking at AI like a monkey looks at a clock. You know something is moving, but has no clue how that's happening. That's where we would be. So with that, I would close. You know, possibilities are endless. But remember, when you go back to your office, to your home, I want you to think about innovation in terms of the one that's responsible for people and for planet. Think of your business as an edge-to-edge business. Think of it, what you think it should go from brain, touch somebody's heart. With that, I would close, and I would say thank you for tolerating me.
Now, you know, I always like to listen to Ripi. With that, I'd like to thank you.
Thank you.
This is made here at the Makerspace. Thank you for being.
That makes it very close. So you're giving me something that you made. Can I give you?
Yes,
Can I give you something that I made?
that would be lovely.
Can I give you one of my books?
Oh my, thank you. Great. Now I get to read Ripi's book. I'll be sharing this in the library, but I'm very excited. Can I?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Inspiring the next H2H Innovation, Volume 5, Human Ideas to Serve Human Needs.
That's where we need to be.
Very exciting. Thank you. Really, thank you so much. Thank you.